Hi, I'm Emma Juno, and I'm a graduate assistant for competitive sports here at Utah State University.
And I'm Tyrell Crane. I'm the graduate assistant for facilities and operations here at Utah State University.
We're excited to be sharing with you the topic that we chose to look into, which is campus recreation and the benefit it has on student success, because it is something that is so close to home for both of us, because we work with students every day who are involved in all sorts of campus recreation activities.
So we feel that the role of campus recreation today is a student affairs issue because there are lots of varying opinions out there about the worth and benefit of campus rec programs. So Emma and myself, as we've studied this topic, we are both of the opinion that higher education campus recreation programs are effective vehicles for increasing student retention, furthering student emotional and physical wellness, and bolstering student academic confidence and success on university campuses. That being said, we often find that these vehicles, campus recreation and its programs, are often underutilized and can be unrecognized for their importance and their impact on student success by university administrators and the public. So to help frame this conversation a little bit, we've gathered a variety of articles of differing opinions that we want to discuss, as well as having compiled interviews of various students and their relations to campus recreation and some commentary from professionals in the field as to the state of campus recreation, answering to some of the concerns out there about campus recreation, and what the future of campus recreation should and could be.
In George McClellan and Jeremy Stringer's Handbook of Student Affairs and Administration, it says that the purpose of higher education is to provide students with a well-rounded learning experience that prepares them to take active roles in society as responsible citizens. Part of this involves leading a healthy lifestyle.
So we've chosen this quote because a great focus of the student affairs profession today is developing the student as a whole. An effective university and an effective campus recreation program should strive to develop a student as a whole. And some of the experiences that we want to share with you should showcase that if a campus recreation program is doing what it needs to do in that regard. So among skeptical students and administrators alike, as we discuss these topics with you, there has been a lot of dialogue out there concerning the worth and the weight of benefits that campus recreation offerings have, with a focus on kind of two camps: the rising costs of funding such activities, as well as the ambiguity of results that surround campus recreation programs. In general, it seems that there's a perception that campus recreation and the results that it produces for its students are good, but being able to quantify those results, represent the experiences of those students, as well as accounting for the monies, their sources and their spending, is a huge part of assessing the strength and the worth of campus recreation programs to the public and to student or to administration personnel. So one of the articles that we looked into in the discussion of rising costs was that of Paul Steinbeck of Athletic Business and Brailsford and Dunsville CEO Paul Brailsford. Going into that, they talk about how construction fees for campuses and recreation projects have nearly doubled over the last decade, and that campus rec fees of $200 per student is becoming more and more the norm across the United States. With that, kind of a case in point example, there was a discussion by News and Record of Johns Newsom where they highlight how the UNC Greensboro Recreation Facility, a $91 million construction, ended up costing a footprint of $630 per year per student in their facility and rec fee in that regard to fund those. So as Paul Steinbeck and Paul Brailsford highlight, the sting that's felt by students in these matters is much more apparent, and that's been kind of the source of so much conversation in these times as things become more expensive, and so that's one thing to address. Also with that, and that concern of vague, I guess, assessments, the Danbert, Varnick, McNill, and Washington article that we looked at, their 2014 Recreational Sports Journal entry, included the following quote, which we saw, which was interesting. Concerning the assessment of athletic programs, they stated, "Research shows that recreational sports may have a small but positive impact on academic success and retention. However, Limitations of previous studies include a lack of longitudinal data, dissimilar study designs, self-report for exposure and outcome variables, and insufficient information regarding how students access the campus recreation facilities. These are some of those commonly expressed sentiments that demonstrate the frustration of some of the ambiguity that can be present in the assessment of these programs. So how do we address those?
So, at the root of what Tyrell just said, there is a disconnect between the public and their ability to see those tangible benefits of campus recreation programs. So, to counter this issue, we have highlighted the experiences of some students here at Utah State. Alright, so first we asked the students, how has your experience with campus recreation impacted your retention here at Utah State?
One of the biggest reasons I did come to Utah State was because of the rock wall and the arc. That was like the selling point for me. Also the intramural programs they had, and then I came up and ended up playing lacrosse, and that definitely has made a huge impact on my decision to continue being here.
Knowing that there's a rugby team here helped a lot with my decision to come here, because I've been playing rugby since I was 12 and I love to play.
I definitely feel like being on the lacrosse team has helped me find my spot at Utah State University. Whether I'm working out at the Arc and have a reason to be there, or whether I'm walking around class with my US lacrosse shirt, I feel really cool just knowing that no matter what, I have 20-something girls backing me up.
If I did not play lacrosse, I think I would want to drop out because I would have no friends here.
Like, I do have a family here at USU because we are the Aggie family, and USU Campus Rec definitely helps to foster that.
Next we ask, how do you feel that your experiences with campus recreation have impacted your physical and mental health and wellness?
Is that when I don't work out often, I get super stressed out emotionally, my body gets really tired, and it gets mad at me for not working out, basically. And so I know that it helps me with my mental health. It is a good stress reliever. When I'm stressed out about academics, I know I can go to the gym and kind of relax and just de-stress a little.
Emotionally, it's way easier to cope with depression and other emotions like that, like sadness, when you're doing something physical.
It's really, really, really easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to what the world is doing, what the girl next to you in class is doing, what everybody else around you is doing. And it's really easy to lose track of where you are and where you're progressing in your own life and your own goals and your ambitions. Being able to see my own progress in the gym really helps me remember that in life it's not a race against other people, it's just a race for me. And so if I can see how far I've come and where I've improved, it really helps a lot, and it allows me to celebrate other people's accomplishments better because I'm not comparing them to my own. I'm just celebrating myself, and then I celebrate their accomplishments, and they're separate. They're not tied to each other.
Having something I can do to relieve stress has been a huge part of me being happy and sane mentally, and I'd say Campus Rec has been a huge part of that.
When I came up to Utah State, I joined the women's lacrosse team. I'd never touched a stick before in my life, but I ended up falling in love with it. After my freshman year, I went on a mission to Norway, and I ended up having to come home early because I was getting some pretty strong suicidal impulses that just weren't really making sense. And when I came home, it was essentially lacrosse that saved me. It was my teammates at Utah State. I would reach out to them whenever I was sad, and they would like boost me up. They were still teammates even though I wasn't on the team anymore. And then whenever else, I would just go to the wall and like play lacrosse on the wall, anything to get my mind off of my thoughts. And then when I started getting closer to coming back up here, I was really excited because I knew having my team every day would help me continue to feel motivated to keep living in a way. And it has. I'm really grateful for that. I can have a really bad day and go to practice and then like leave feeling awesome. And just beyond that, just having the whole physical well-being definitely helps out with my mental game too, knowing that I'm fit and healthy in other ways helps me to feel like I can make it mentally.
Finally, we asked, what effect have your experiences with campus recreation had on your academic confidence and success?
I feel better after I work out, so I'm able to focus better on my studies and on other things happening in my life. I get more motivation to do my schoolwork on time because then I can use the gym as motivation or as a reward. I can say, okay, write this many pages of an essay, and then I can go hit the gym, and I just feel better because that's what my body wants. It's a really good stress relief for me.
I think being on the lacrosse team does help me feel more confident asking professors for help because they know I'm going the extra mile somewhere else on campus.
And we're traveling almost every weekend, so we have to know what is due when and be able to do that before we travel and figure that stuff out on our own. So we have to plan our schedule accordingly.
Being on the women's lacrosse team has helped me maintain good grades because it keeps me on a stricter time schedule. I can't just lay around and nap all day. Also, I have to meet grades to stay on the team, so that is definitely a big motivator. I am pretty heavily involved in research on campus, and this semester I did a lot of research on the use of women's lacrosse helmets in the sport, and because of that, I wouldn't have thought of that idea if I didn't play lacrosse and if I wasn't so passionate about the sport. And because of that, I'm presenting at a conference on Thursday, and it's just really cool that lacrosse has kind of planted these seeds for other spots of growth within my academic education.
To bring the dialogue full circle, we wanted to incorporate the thoughts of current campus recreation professionals. We interviewed Chase Ellis, the Director of Campus Recreation at Utah State University, and Daniel Lawrence, the Associate Director of Programs and Assessment, concerning how campus recreation can respond to the concerns of the public, as well as what the role of assessment plays in effective campus recreation programs and what collegiate campus recreation programs need to be in the future. First, we'll hear from Daniel Lawrence.
Okay, so Daniel, some opponents of expanding campus recreation programs and facilities on campuses have expressed concerns about rising college costs and growing student debt. How would you respond to opponents of these increasing student fee costs to fund campus recreation operations?
That is definitely a national phenomenon. We definitely have seen tremendous debt across the country, across the world, with student debt becomes with tuition increases and so forth. As it pertains to student fees with campus recreation, as for example, I think there's many different avenues to be able to combat those costs. Here, luckily at Utah State University, each student, if they're taking a full course load, 12 to 18 credits, they're paying $36.15 per semester to utilize the services and programs and facility access to the Aggie Rec Center here. In the grand scheme of things, that's dirt cheap. You know, you can go get a $30 a month membership. For example, you're paying $36 for the whole entire semester. Of course, we have the bond for the facility and so forth, but to be able to combat that, you're able to do multiple different things. For example, here at Utah State, the services we do provide that do require some sort of cost, we keep it as low as possible for the students to be able to participate, because one of our main goals is to be able to provide services and programs to the students on campus, giving them the avenue to recreate. Get outside have an outlet to be able to get away from the academic rigors of their education, and be able to recreate and clear their mind and work on their overall well-being for being a Utah State student. So the fees that we do charge for our programs are very minimal, and really oftentimes just cover the cost of staffing and the programming itself. And there's many different avenues we're able to combat that cost. And I think Utah State, at the time of this building being opened, I think we missed the boat on a few options. One option that I recognized very quickly, but then learning the clientele or the population of Cache Valley, would be alumni memberships. Alumni memberships to this facility seems great, but once you sit back and think, all right, how many alumni are in Cache Valley who went to Utah State? There's a large number of members, of individuals in the Valley who would love to come work on this facility. So then you go back to what other options do we have? Well, could we just do a 1 year, after your first year, your alumni, you become a member of the Alumni Association for your first year out. As you're getting your feet wet and getting your first full-time job underneath your belt, you have that cheap option for a workout facility to again, working on your overall well-being. That's one option that I've thought about as well. The other option I feel like to be able to combat the student fees and keeping them low and not raising them is offering memberships to faculty and staff. Being able to provide that service to the faculty and staff and the overall campus community, I think really gives an opportunity to be able to keep the student fees low and at a minimum, and be able to provide that service to other faculty and staff members. Not all faculty and staff would partake in utilizing the Aggie Rec Center, but I think by having the support and buy-in from other community members on Utah State's community, I think would definitely go a long way with supporting the overall academic success of the students and keeping their fees low.
Drawing on your experiences at the various institutions you've worked at, what do you feel needs to happen in regards to the standing and nature of campus recreation programs at higher education institutions in the future?
That's the ever-ending question that every campus recreation student affairs professional across the country is looking to answer. You know, we're talking just campus recreation, but it's a student affairs issue. Being able to find those resources or those programs and services and those outlets for students to be able to get involved. Each state and university is different with their populations, their clientele, and who they serve. But overall, I think that's the issues, we're all experiencing the same issues across the country. And there's no one right answer to answer all of our problems. But I think all the practitioners and all the professionals across the country and each different level of student affairs, we're all working together, doing our own pieces, putting our pieces of the pie together to provide that experience for our students to where they have a well-rounded experience and protecting their overall well-being and working on their overall well-being.
Next, we will hear from Chase Ellis.
Quantifying the benefits of campus recreation programs is often a source of disconnect between student affairs professionals and the public. What is the value of assessment in bridging this gap?
Yeah, assessment is one of those things, especially being on a research institution, being able to have it implemented from the get-go. And that was actually one of the big things that when I took this position that for the past hadn't happened. And so I think there was that perception of that campus rec was just there to open the doors, hand out the equipment, have a few different trips here and there, but no real possible learning outcomes. Like, what did the individual get out of this, not only as a social experience, but also, you know, did it help them mentally or physically or emotionally? And so one thing that we started requiring from all of our programs is when they develop a program to have 2 to 3 student learning outcomes or participant outcomes. And that can be measured. To be measured, you have to have good ways of collecting that data. And so a lot of our programs not only just use card swipes, because that's just like walking in the door to a restaurant. Everyone could say, well, yeah, everyone that walked in this door thinks that our restaurant is the best here in Cache Valley. But just because you walked through a door doesn't necessarily mean that you got meaning out of it. And so having follow-up surveys or questionnaires, or, you know, taking data of what classes are full and different things help us quantify that. But also, like on some of our bigger trips, like our outdoor programs, you know, we have more in-depth conversations so that we can actually say whether or not we've met those outcomes. And that's really why I think assessment's important, because we're not just here to roll out the balls. We're here to provide an experience that makes the students' lives better, but also how can we take that experience and let others adopt it so that communities can make their members a lot healthier and happier in their lives.
Speaking with our campus recreation professionals, they made it clear the importance of transparency in campus recreation programs, dealings with the public, a growth mindset, and the collection of and sharing of meaningful assessment data. These are vital elements in making the case that campus recreation programs are relevant.
We recognize the importance of the student experience and the campus recreation musts that are highlighted in the scope of these interviews. We feel that in order to continue to justify their worth to administrators and to the public, and to best serve the student as a whole, campus recreation programs must engage in and continue to innovate their assessment programs so that they can communicate to the public the benefits that they offer their students, and that campus presidencies and administrators need to recognize campus recreation programs as the resource that they can be in meeting their student success goals.